Hello and welcome to this session in which we would look at a bank reconciliation that could appear on the CPA exam or in your accounting courses. If you want to succeed on the CPA exam, bank reconciliation is a critical component. It appears on the exam again and again in either form of multiple choice or in form of simulation. Now this simulation that I'm going to be working with you today, I would consider this a tough, a hard simulation. In other words, if you can finish this simulation, then you should be good to go as far as bank reconciliation. And I will try to do so. Now, before I start, I would like to remind you that if you are a CPA candidate or an accounting student, you should check out my website, farhatlectures.com. If you are a CPA candidate, I don't replace your Becker, your Roger, your Gleim, your Wiley. I don't do that. I can't do that. What I can do, I can be a useful addition. I can supplement those courses so you are more comfortable and you can add 10 to 15 points on your CPA exam. And here's my challenge to you. Here's what I'm offering you, and here's the risk that you are taking. I'm telling you, I can improve your grade and push you above 75% grade for my monthly subscription. Now, are you willing to take that chance? That's the question. If you don't like it, you can cancel. Not a big deal. But are you willing to try it out to see if it's going to help you improve your knowledge, which in turn improve your preparation, which in turn improve your grade? And not for anything, check out my website to see how well is your university doing on the CPA exam. I do have this data. If you're an accounting student, I have many accounting courses that I can complement and supplement your courses. Please connect with me on LinkedIn and check out my LinkedIn recommendation. Check out what people said about my services when they used my services and my lectures. If you like this lecture, please like it and share it. If it helps you, it means it might help other people. Connect with me on Instagram and Facebook. Let's dive into the CPA simulation. Okay, there's these are all exhibit. So this will be an exhibit, this will be an exhibit, this will be an exhibit. So you're dealing with 3 different exhibits here. Okay. West Goshen Company maintain a checking account at Wells Fargo Bank. Fair enough. Bank statements are prepared at the end of each month, which they should. The November 30th reconciliation of the bank is as follows. So this is the November 30th reconciliation. So they're giving you already a completed reconciliation. Now, if they do this on the exam, this is easy for you. Why? Because this is going to kind of remind you what does a reconciliation looks like. So here they're showing you the account per bank balance. Okay, less outstanding checks, add deposit outstanding or deposit in transit, deduct less outstanding checks, gives us the adjusted bank balance as of November 30th. So they're giving you kind of a solution, okay, and they will give you that because you will need this information for December bank reconciliation, which we're going to be preparing December. The company general ledger checking account showed the following. Now this is the general ledger. Now they might give you a more detailed general ledger, because here what they're giving you is the total receipts and the total disbursements. Maybe on the general ledger of the exam they could give you the check numbers, but all the check numbers, they should add up to 42,153, and all the deposits, they should add up to 42,950. So this is the general ledger. So first you want to make sure you understand what you have. So the balance as of December 31st on your books is 4,440, how much cash you have as per your general ledger. The December bank statement, now this is the bank statement. So notice they're starting with 3261. The bank statement is showing this balance, because remember the bank statement ended up with 3261. This is the bank statement. Then they have a deposits of 43,300. They processed checks of 42,215. They deducted $25 as a service charge, and there was a non-sufficient fund checks for 470. Per your bank statement, you have cash 3,848. Now the question is, how much cash do we have? This is what the bank reconciliation is for. We want to make sure those two numbers equal to each other after we account for the reconciliation. So here you are giving 3 exhibits: November reconciliation, your general ledger for December, and your bank statement for December. Let's look at additional information. Again, I would say this is a tough simulation, right? The checks were processed by the bank include all the outstanding checks at the end of the November except check number 365. So the first statement is telling us the following. All these checks those were the outstanding checks. They were all cleared except check number 365, which is for $204. Let me put it up here. There's $204 that's still outstanding. In addition, there are some December checks that had not been processed by the bank by the end of the month. And they're telling us there are outstanding checks, but they're not telling us what they are. Okay? Also, you discovered that check number 411 for $650 was correctly recorded by the bank, but was incorrectly recorded on the books as $560. Let's figure out what do we need to do with this check. Let's go back to check number 411. Check number 411, well, it's not showing here, but let me tell you what happened. You wrote a check. When you wrote the check, you actually wrote the check. This is the check, and you wrote the check for $650. So this is the actual check. You know, this is the name of the person that you paid to, the date, everything is correct, and you wrote it for $650. Now, what was that check for? Advertising expense. So here's what you did. On your books, you debited advertising expense $560, credited cash $560. So who made the error? First, you have to figure out who made the error. That's the first thing, because you have to find out who made the error. Well, the check cleared for $60. The check is for $650. However, you recorded it as $560. So who made the error? The company made the error. How much is the error? The error is $90. What does that mean? It means your cash disbursement is understated by $90 because you wrote a check for $650 and you said you paid $560, right? So simply put, in other words, if we go to your GL here, you said disbursements of $42,153. We have to add to this disbursement negative $90 because your disbursements are understated by $90. So this is what this information gave us. It just showed you the check as well as the journal entry so you can visually see what happened. So kind of we took care of this. Included in the bank deposits is a $1,600 deposit incorrectly credited to our bank account. That's excellent. What should we do? We shouldn't do anything, right? No. But basically the point is the bank made an error. Now this is a bank error. Bank error. The bank gave us an additional $1,600. It was for someone else and they gave it to us. Now it could be the name of our companies are similar. It could be the account are similar. I audited credit union and those mistakes happen. Those mistakes happen. The person punched in the wrong number because they were very close to each other and they gave the credit to our company. Now here's what I need to tell you. This is the importance of a bank reconciliation. You know, if you really want to be unethical, which you should not, but I'm trying to show you the importance of a bank reconciliation. If you don't say anything about the $1,600 and the other party, in other words, if they gave you $1,600 of cash, it means they took that money from another account because the other account was not properly credited. Your account was credited. Credited in the banking language means they gave you the money. Now, if the other company don't prepare a bank reconciliation, they may not discover that their account is understated. Okay? So that's the importance of the bank reconciliation. So if somebody wants to be unethical, they wouldn't say anything. And they would wait until the bank contact them and tell them, look, there was a deposit that wasn't really yours. We need to take the money out. But if you don't say anything and the other company don't prepare a bank reconciliation, basically they lost $1,600, which is you should not do that. But the point I'm trying to make is the importance of a bank reconciliation. Okay, so there was a bank error. Simply put, how do I translate this? It means the bank balance here, it's showing the bank balance of $32.61. We should deduct $1,600 from it. We'll get to all of this, but this is what this error means. The deposit should have been posted to the credit of Los Garos company. That's fine. We don't care, but it's not our company. The non-sufficient checks has not been redeposited in the company and will seek payment by the customers involved. And here there was a non-sufficient checks of $470. What is a non-sufficient check? Simply put, somebody paid you $470. When you received the check, you debited cash, $470. You credited their account receivable, $470, under the impression that this check is good. You don't know whether this check is good or not. Now, you took this money, you deposit this money in the bank, you deposit this check, then the bank's telling you that bank is no good. So what do you need to do? You need to debit account receivable $470, credit cash. You need to take out that money. And we'll look at that later on. This will be a book adjustment. Also on the bank statement, there was a $25 service charge. Okay, so this is just, I gave you an overview. Now we're going to start to prepare. We're going to start to prepare the bank reconciliation. On the exam day, what you should do, in my opinion, if you're giving a bank reconciliation, depending on how easy it is, if they're giving you a prior month bank reconciliation, showing you a prior month bank reconciliation, which is they're showing you November, if that's the case, I will start with my book adjustment. I think the book adjustments are easier in this problem. So start with the side that you think it's easier for you. Why? Because once you start with that side and you find the answer, then if you're confident that's the answer, at least you can plug in that answer in your bank side. So you'll get some points. In my opinion, the book side is easier for this simulation, but I will start with the bank side. It doesn't really matter. So how do you start your bank reconciliation? I'm going to start with the bank side. Well, I'm going to start by what's my balance per my bank? What is the balance per my bank? Now remember, the balance per bank is given to us. So we'll start with the balance per bank, which is 3,840. Here's the bank statement, and this number is given to you. So now you get some point. So how is the bank adjusted? Always on the bank reconciliation, you're going to have to add deposit in transit and deduct what I called outstanding checks. Now, the bank reconciliation, I have it much more covered in details on farhatlectures.com, but I just want to let you know, like, this is what should go there unless you have some errors, which we do have some errors in this example. So let's see. So we need to add deposit in transit. Now, what are deposit in transit? Deposits in transit are deposits that we made at the bank, but it's not showing in the bank account. Now, how do I know what's my deposit in transit? I compare how much did I deposit. I deposited $42,950, and the bank is showing $43,300. Well, hold on a second. That does not make any sense at all. How is that possible, right? If I deposited $42,950 and the bank's showing me you deposited actually more, $43,300, well, that's really good news, but that's not true. So this is your initial, the big idea. Now you have to dig into this. Well, remember, so what's the difference between those two? What the difference is, the bank is showing you have $350 more, which is that's not really true. Okay, that's the difference initially. Why that difference exists? Remember, the bank gave you $1,600 deposit. Then you have to deduct this. So you have to deduct $1,600 from that deposit. Remember, they gave you money that's not really yours. That's fine. Also, what you have to take out, remember this, what you have to take out, also any deposits in transit from the prior month. Hold on a second. Why am I doing this? Why am I taking out my deposit in transit? Because my deposit in transit last month, I accounted for them. So I have to go back to my prior month bank statement, and I have deposit in transit of $1,230. So I have to take out $1,230 as deposit in transit. Why? Because this deposit belonged to, as far as I'm concerned, those $1,230, I'm aware of them. They belong to November. They don't belong to December. The bank is showing them in December, but there's in this number here $1,230 that belongs to November, not December. Well, basically, once I account this, I notice that I have deposit in transit. The difference now is $2,480. Simply put, my deposit in transit, $2,480. It's simply put, after I make the adjustments, I notice that, in other words, here's what I'm doing. I take 43,300, what the bank is showing. That's what the bank is showing. I'm gonna deduct from it 1,600, which is the error. I'm gonna deduct from it 1,230. Let me show you what the bank should be showing. Then I will compare it to what I deposited, and I will find the missing amount. So let me just pull my calculator here. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to take 43,300 minus 1,600 the bank made as an error, minus 1,230. So the bank really, the deposits, the net deposit is 40,470 minus 42,950. And that's the difference between this number and this number is 2480. It means I still have deposit in transit for this month, 2480. I'm done with deposit in transit. Now remember, after deposit in transit, I have to deduct any outstanding checks or any bank errors. Now I already know about one bank error, which is the 1600. Let's take it out because that money was not mine. I have to take it out. Now I have to account for what we called outstanding checks. Now let's deduct the outstanding checks. That's the second component. That's the second major component on the bank reconciliation. Well, here's what we are told. We are told that the disbursement as per the general ledger, 42,153. The disbursement per the bank statement is 42,218. So there's a difference between the two. Now, I already know that my GL disbursements is incorrect. I need to add $90 to it because I made an error. Therefore, let's start with that. So I'm going to start with taking 42,153 plus $90. Why the plus means deduct an additional $90. 42,153 plus $90. So my true disbursements were 42,243. Those are my true disbursement because I needed to add $90 because remember the check for the advertisement, it was incorrectly recorded on my books. I understated my amount by $90. Now the checks were processed were 42,118. That's fine. But we have to remember, those checks, some of them included checks from the prior month. Why checks from the prior month? Because in November, I had outstanding checks, and those outstanding checks cleared now. If they cleared now, it means they don't belong in December, they belong in November. So I have to take out any checks that belong to November. And I'm told that all of them were cleared except check 365. So if I go back to my November statement, this check was not cleared. I'm already told that. And the other one, 126, 159, 89, and 370 were already cleared. So what do I need to do? I need to take these figures and deduct them from my checks processed. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to take 42,218, and I'm going to deduct from it all the amount of the checks. One check was for 126, another check was for 59, another check was for 89, and another check was for 370. Therefore, my checks processed for the month of December was 41,574. Okay, now this is how much I wrote in checks, 42,243. The bank processed 41,574. The difference between them, let's find the difference, 42,243. The difference is 669. But remember, in addition to the 669, I still have the outstanding check, the 204, check number 365 from November. So 669 plus 204, I have outstanding checks of 873. Therefore, I deduct outstanding checks of 873. And simply put, I'm done with my bank side. Because usually the bank side will have three things: deposit in transit, outstanding checks, usually, and this is an unusual. If there's an error by the bank, it's unusual. But usually once you add deposit in transit, deduct outstanding checks, you should find your correct balance unless there's a bank error. And remember, the bank error could be minus or it could be a positive. Maybe they did not give you the money that belongs to you, right? Now we know the corrected cash balance is 3,855. Immediately what you should do on the CPA exam, put that corrected balance under the book balance as well if you are confident. This way you get credit for it. Now we need to prepare the book side of things. What's the book side of things? The book side are things that the bank charged you, but you are not aware of it. So it's on the bank statement, but it's not on your books. What could be those? Well, we were already told the non-sufficient check and the service charge. You're not aware of the service charged. Okay? A non-sufficient check, and you made an error. Remember, you made the error for the $90. So three things go on the book side. Let's start with the book side. Balance per books, 4440. Balance per books, it's giving 4440. At least put this down so this way you can get credit for it. Remember, three things we have to adjust the books for. We're going to deduct, and they're all deductions. Sometimes it's an addition. Sometimes, for example, the bank might give you interest, like $5 interest. then it's an addition, but they're all deduction. Error and recording check, we already know this, $90. So we need to deduct $90. And for every thing that we do on the books, we need a journal entry, which we'll prepare in a moment. That's the first one. Service charge, $25, and non-sufficient checks, $470. Now I'll take $44.40, net those, and the amount is $38.50. Now I'm good. I'm confident that my bank reconciliation is working. Okay. Oops, not this one. Now I know my bank reconciliation is working. That's why I told you, once you are confident in one number, put it in the other side as well. This way you'll get credit for it. Okay. So now my bank reconciliation is reconciling $38.55 to $38.55. Once again, this bank reconciliation may take you quite a bit of time if it's on the CPA exam. The key is to, at least if you can, try to finish as much as possible, right? And hopefully you can finish the whole thing. We're not done yet. We still have to prepare the journal entries. Remember, anything that you do on the books needs a journal entry. Well, we need a journal entry for the error. $90. We need to debit advertising expense. Remember, I showed you this early on. And credit cash for $90. Miscellaneous expense, which is for the $25. Debit miscellaneous expense or bank service charge, $25. Account receivable, remember, why account receivable $470? Because remember what I told you, when we received the check, we debited account receivable, we credited account, we debited cash when we received the checks, we debited cash $470, credited receivable $470 for the non-sufficient check. Well, when we find out it's not good, we have to do the opposite. We have to debit account receivable and credit the cash. And we credit the cash for the total $585. What I just did is I just went through the journal entries to make sure you record the journal entries. You only do the journal entries for the book side, okay? The bank you don't do. If the bank made an error, that's their problem. They have to, when they prepare their bank reconciliation, they will have to make this adjustment. So remember, the journal entries are only for the book side, okay? So any issues you had on your books, you had, well, not any issues, anything you need to update your books for. You had an error. This was an error, and usually, an error could be a positive or minus. For example, if you wrote the check for $560 and you deducted $650, then the error will be positive $90, okay? Because you deducted so much from your check. So if this was the GL and this was the check, I'm flipping the scenario. It could happen that you wrote the check for $560, but you recorded it for $650, okay? So the error will be positive. Therefore, actually, you will debit cash and credit advertising expense. But that's not the issue here. Service charge is a typical one. Make sure you get to the service charge. You debit miscellaneous expense, or on the exam, if there's a bank service charge, look for bank service charge. If not, miscellaneous expense, debit expense, credit cash. And for the non-sufficient check, it's the opposite of what happened when you receive the check. You debit the receivable and credit cash. Now, again, at the end of this recording, I'm going to ask you again, if you are studying for your CPA exam, to take my challenge. Basically, my challenge is, are you willing to risk $30, which is my subscription now, to find out if I can help you, if my lectures, if my system can help you improve your score substantially. Now, my lectures are mapped out to those courses, so it's easy. If you have those courses, it's easy to follow because they're mapped out to these courses. Are you willing to take that chance? That's up to you. Anyhow, once again, if not for anything, check out my website to see how well your university did on the CPA exam. As always, I'm going to ask you to study hard. Don't shortchange yourself. Your CPA exam is a lifetime investment. And of course, stay safe.